everyone. Welcome to Spooky Mountain. I'm Steph.
And I'm Geordie, and thank you so much for listening in to episode number 12.
Is it? Oh, fuck yeah, it is, yeah.
Yes.
I was like, it's 11. Oh, 12, yeah.
No, that was the last one. Woo! This is like the first time where I actually remember the episode number.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry, yeah.
I have no idea what your story is this week, but for like the past few days, I've just been so excited to hear what you're doing. I don't know, like I'm always excited, but this week I've just been really like...
Really?
Yes.
I'm excited to hear yours because you told me that don't do Alien and I was like, oh shit, all right. So I have no idea what you're doing. For mine, this is something that you're very familiar with, but it's about the
story?
This story, it's about a house, a very interesting house.
Okay.
And I'll leave it at that.
There's a few options that could be.
I know. If I say too much, then it'll start narrowing down some things. It's a very interesting house. I'll leave it at that.
Oh,
and
how
intrigue
exciting.
me about yours.
Well, it's funny because with mine, my warning that I gave you, originally I was like, don't do aliens, I'm going to do aliens. And then a few days later, I was like, don't do conspiracies because I'm going to do a conspiracy.
That's right. I was like, wait,
and then I went back to alien and then conspiracy. And then it was just like, the other day
I
was
were
like,
combining the two. I was like, is it alien conspiracy? I'm like, what is happening?
It was going to be an alien conspiracy. Yeah. And then I changed it now, so it's going to be, it's a person now. My story.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yes, it's about a very interesting person. And I was a little bit apprehensive actually doing my story this week on this person because it does border on, like, I don't talk about it too much, but it does border on Jesus
oh, okay, got you.
kind of stuff, but I don't touch on that too much, which is good.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. Oh God, okay, I'm interested.
Yes,
very nice.
It's a very interesting story.
Okay, cool.
I'm also very curious to know if you have had any more experiences with the person beside your bed since we've last spoken.
The Pukwudgie that I've been towing in the face.
In the face, yeah.
I haven't. No. And it's funny because I haven't even told Dylan, and he sleeps next to me every night. Because
you haven't told Dylan about it?
No, I haven't even told him because he'd just be like, he just wouldn't believe me. I don't know. Yes. He'd just be like, okay. Like, the things I'm talking about all the time now since our podcast, like, a lot of the stuff we talk about, I don't know. He just thinks I'm crazy now because I'm talking about the stories I'm doing. Then I talk about the stories that you do, and he's just like,
okay, whatever.
So, like, you're having a great time. That's all that matters. And I'm like, okay. So I just don't even tell him. Stuff.
It's actually funny because my boyfriend is super skeptical with some things and very, very almost superstitious with other things, but mostly skeptical. But the episode where you were talking about the kangaroo man, that shadow man that you saw, he listened. I'm pretty sure it was that episode that he listened to, and after he finished listening to it, he was like, "Wow, it just really makes you think. Like, what are these things doing?" And so it kind of like turned him a little bit. So. Yeah, that's a sign that was a very impactful thing that you shared with everyone.
I think that creeped a lot of people out, that story. I mean, it is terrifying. It was
creepy.
But I think because it happened to me, I'm just kind of, I've just gotten over it. And I'm like, yeah, it was fucked up, but I couldn't believe it when you told me. Yeah.
Oh, I could imagine you wouldn't want to think about it too much. It's pretty full on.
No. Yeah, especially because I get up to pee every night. Like, I'm fucking... I don't want to see anything like that.
I'm glad that you haven't had another Pukwudgie towing face.
Yeah, nothing creepy. No, but something did weird. Well, so, I mean, this is not supernatural in any way. It's just really grim. And I think some people that are going to listen to this know what I'm talking about. So, on the weekend, it was Halloween yesterday. So, this is like how we're kind of recording because there was a bit ahead.
Yes.
It was also my friend Rosie's 30th birthday.
Happy birthday, Rosie.
Yeah, happy birthday, Rosie. And we've just come out of lockdown as well, so it was the first time a lot of people were allowed to get together. We went to the big park, Sydney Park, and had a massive picnic.
Partied.
Oh my God, yeah. And I am an adult. I drank half a bottle of gin, but I only drank it with soda water, so I was completely hydrated and I was not hungover the next morning. It was incredible.
You are a fucking genius.
I know. And all I bought for flavouring was just lime juice. That was it.
You're a hydrated bitch. I love this.
And
hydrated bitch on gin.
So that was the good news. But the bad news was the picnic was at a big lake and there was lots of swans and stuff, and we were all out like watching all the swans, and we watched a swan die. Just
you did it. How did it?
Yeah, there was a big swan. I think it was the dad, because then there was a mum and the three baby swans. And
they lost its dad. Their dad.
Yeah,
that's sad.
It started like moving around, and I was like, "Hey, what's it doing? Woo! Look at it go!" And
you
were
laughing at it.
Yeah, I was like, I pointed it out, and there's like another group there, and everyone just stopped and stared at the swan, and it started flapping, and its head went under the water, and then it just stayed there, and then everyone just went dead silent, and we're all just watching it. And for hours after, the swan was just slowly drifting down the lake, and the mum and the babies were just circling it because they didn't know what to do.
Oh my God, I'm literally getting tears in my eyes thinking about this.
She's like, this is my birthday. Is this some sort of like omen? Like, why is this happening?
Oh,
and I was like,
they
it's
watched
a goodbye
their
to your
dad
20s. Yeah, really I know, it was very sad. And then I know, it was really, really hard to watch. And then we tried to call like wires and then get him picked up, and nothing, because it was like
he
the
was
weekend.
gone already.
Yeah, it was just happened too fast. So that was like the weirdest thing that happened all week. And I was like, this is
really strange.
Never watched that happen before.
There's something that I've been meaning to tell you off the podcast for ages, and I keep forgetting to tell you. But I'm just going to tell you for everyone else to hear as well. I had the most fucked up experience the other week. So I was picking up something for free from some random person that I've never met. I was going to their house to pick it up, and it was in the Blue Mountains. I rocked up at their driveway, and as I was rocking up, I had Panda, my daughter, in the car, in the back seat. And as I rocked up, like, drove up to their driveway, I was like, is that a goose on their front fence, or is that a statue? I was like, I think it's a statue. It'll be fine. I got out of my car to walk down their pathway to just grab, it was just like a free toy that I was grabbing for my daughter. Yeah. And this goose started to move, and I was like, oh, it's real. But I bet it'll be fine, because they wouldn't keep like a mean goose out the front of their house. I started walking down the pathway, and this goose started attacking me. It was, oh my God, it fucking chased me.
Geese are the most aggressive fucking things ever.
It had the sharpest little teeth, and it was biting me. It was It was like charging at me over and over and over again. I was like running around the yard, literally screaming.
What? Panicking in the car, what the hell?
I was like trying to protect myself with my sunglasses, just trying to. No, sorry, just trying to like, just trying to whack this goose.
That's so scary. How tall was it?
It was so big. It was the biggest fucking goose I've ever seen in my life. And it was biting my fingers, and I was like it was chasing me around the yard. And these people's neighbours were just watching me over the fence getting chased by a goose. Oh my God, what
assholes.
And he was like, oh, it's pretty mean, eh? And I was like, what?
I'm dying.
I'm dying. I kept on saying over and over again, I've never been chased by a goose before. I've never been chased by a goose before. I eventually found a newspaper to try and whack it away, and it did nothing. It just kept on like flapping at me and charging at me. And then eventually the other neighbor just came and like grabbed it. And I was like, what the...
Power move, fucking hell.
Full power move, grab this goose, and I was like sweating my tits off, just like almost on the verge of mental breakdown, being like, what the fuck? I just grabbed this like toy from their front step and like ran to my car. That's more
powerful than like a dog, like a guard dog, just having a goose, because it's so
was a full it was a guard goose. I messaged the lady. I was like, I grabbed the toy and also your goose just chased me around your yard for like 10 minutes. She was like, oh, sorry, yeah, he can be a little bit aggressive.
Are you
I was
kidding? Like, I will call the police next time. There's a violent goose.
Call the cops. I was like, yeah, it can be a bit aggressive. Fuck. Yeah, anyway, not paranormal related at all.
That is so funny.
But terrifying. Just as scary as something paranormal, I think.
I mean, I think I would prefer to see something paranormal than be chased by a goose. Because I've been chased by a goose before when I was a child.
Have you?
Yeah, at Wetland Falls Lake.
Of course.
When there used to be geese, there was a lot of aggressive geese, and then they all magically disappeared. So
I don't know. I think they probably got dead.
Yeah.
I think they got
so.
dead.
Attacked one too many children. So,
anyway, back to our regular programming.
We've got a wonderful review that I'm going to mention. Yes. Another amazing review. So they gave us 5 stars. Again, thank you very much. And it says, very entertaining, great fun from Down Under. Unless you're already Down Under, then it's just great fun. Either way, it's worth listening to. And that's by Roddy Gerard Frey. So thanks heaps for that.
That's a fantastic review. Yeah, I love that.
I know. I love knowing
that for everyone.
There's listeners that aren't from Australia as well. So that's mad. Yep. And I love the term Down Under because no one even says Down Under in Australia.
It's such a weird saying for me. It makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. I don't know. It makes me feel something.
I think of underpants. I don't know. I just think of like...
That's why it makes me uncomfortable, I think. Down Under. But speaking of reviews, if you do want to leave us a review, this would be so helpful for us. It really, it makes us more visible to other people looking for podcasts to listen to. So if you leave us a review, we will love you forever. We'll be eternally grateful. And you'll be really doing us just such a fantastic favor.
And I know a lot of you listen to on Spotify and it's annoying because you can't leave a review. But if you are following us on Spotify, that's enough to be awesome. So that also helps people find us.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so thank you for everyone who already have left a review. That's very helpful for us. Also, we dropped our Halloween episode the other day, and we've had such awesome feedback from that.
Yeah, really good feedback.
People seem to really love it. If you haven't listened to it, you can listen to it, but you can also watch it on YouTube. So you can just go to our YouTube channel and watch our faces for the first time. It's almost like a little meeting for the first time.
Little Zoom meeting. Little
Zoom meeting. But one of our stories on the Halloween episode was from a fantastic friend of mine who's called Telia. She's one of my best mates. And she actually messaged me the other day to follow up on her story that she told on the Halloween episode with a little bit, just a few more thoughts on what happened. Okay. So because I was asking about the man, it was a shadow man in a caravan that she was living in. And so one of her friends that helped clear that shadow man away, she is Aboriginal, and she has kind of like a bit of a sixth sense for this kind of thing also. And her friend said this man definitely, because they were also out near Alice Springs, so it's quite a, important area, Indigenous important area. But her friend says this man wasn't Aboriginal. He wasn't Aboriginal. He was a man that used to live in the caravan. So that's, and we were talking about, because in the story, the man kind of like went away after my friend Telia saw a crazy hole open up kind of above her and saw a woman kind of say like, come here, and then the man kind of went with her. And Telia very strongly thinks that this woman was actually his wife that beckoned him to come with her.
Oh,
So
that's
that's just
amazing.
just a bit more kind of follow up on that story. I thought people would
Really,
appreciate.
that's really cool. Yeah.
I
I'm
thought so. I thought it was a nice bit of information.
Yeah. Oh, that is a really cool, like, little connection to think about.
Yeah, and just thinking about just how people or like spirits can get stuck, here, and that our loved ones can kind of bring us back home to where we belong. I really like that idea as
Me
well.
too.
That you can kind of go back home.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I like that. We've been getting a lot of messages as well after collecting stories. So we're still collecting stories. So
Yes.
if I know a lot of you have reached out to me on Instagram and actually been like, hey, you still taking stories? Absolutely. You can DM me or you can just send us an email to spookymountainpodcast@gmail.com because we're hoping to just keep accumulating them and just doing little one-off episodes here and there of all of your listener stories. So big or small, even if you think it's like a little small thing here, if it's something that's, important enough for you, we would love to read it out and share it with everyone.
Yeah.
So
I think something that we want to do, and this is also something that I wanted to bring up this episode, something that we might do is add these stories as extra content on Patreon.
Yeah.
And Patreon, we're finally at a point now where we've been working on our Patreon profile and getting all our tiers organized. So by the time this episode comes out, our Patreon should be active.
Yeah.
So but we're starting off slow. We've decided that we're going to just start off with like 2 very basic tiers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Till we get ourselves sorted with like really good extra content.
Yeah.
We thought just have a few extra options for you guys, like getting a Discord up and running and a few other little options. So definitely check it out. It'll be on our link tree to our Patreon, so you can read everything on there. We'll have everything you need to know. That should be up and running now. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be awesome if you want to check that out. But yeah, we probably will just keep it pretty basic for a little while, just until we get our minds wrapped around everything.
Yeah.
There's one more thing that we wanted to also bring up in this episode was we hit over 1,000 downloads.
Oh, yeah.
We hit over 1,000 downloads the other day, so we should be kind of like barely over 1,000
over it
now.
by now. Yeah, I think we're 1,200 or something already.
Oh my God.
It's just we're just growing. It's really cool. I love it.
It's like exponential growth. It's like each week it kind of is increasing. So thank you so much, everyone, for your fucking amazing support. And I'm just so happy that everything's working out.
Me too. Yeah, it's really nice having lots of feedback from everyone, just finding us through friends or I think it's mainly just through friends. I think it's hard to know how a lot of different people are finding us, but we're really happy with how it's going and really glad you guys are enjoying it too. So I think that's enough for our spiel. I think of just thanking everyone today. I mean, you guys are amazing.
Yeah, we spewed everything out. We just had a lot of, I know that's a lot of kind of like formal shit that we just kind of said. But we've had a lot of like kind of stuff that we've been working on and big points that have come up. So that we just had to kind of get that out. I'm excited to hear your story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we get into it?
I'm going to get right into my story.
Awesome.
I'm super excited to do this one.
I'm very interested to know. I say this all the time, but I'm very interested to know what it is.
Oh, no, you'll be very happy with this one. So it's something, you're very familiar with, and it would be my goddamn dream if we could both go there together because it would be so fun. I'm talking about the Winchester Mansion.
Oh, yeah.
In San Jose, California. California. Yes. I've had that song stuck in my fucking head all week because of every time I write California, I'm like, California in the city. It's just driving me crazy. But anyway,
it can be our theme song for this episode.
Yeah, I think we'll have to do that. So, Winchester Mansion. This was the residence for Sarah Winchester. She was the widow of firearms magnate William Wirt Winchester. Wirt is his middle name, which W-I-R-T. Wirt. I have no idea how to say it.
His middle name was Wirt.
I keep getting bad. I swear everything I write is just someone has some really fucked up middle name. William Wirt Winchester.
That's a terrible. I don't often put people down for their names. Actually, never. But that's a terrible name.
That's pretty bad. So, the house looks incredible. It's a Queen Anne-style Victorian mansion, and it's incredibly large. It has the strangest architectural curiosities and had no building plan at all. It's super fascinating. So that's pretty much why it's so fascinating. It's also listed on the National Register of Historic Places in California and is currently being used as a tourist attraction. So the construction for this house, it began in 1886 and it did not stop till the death of Sarah Winchester on the 5th of September 1922. The mansion has been claimed by many to be haunted by the ghosts that were killed with the Winchester rifles. So if you're unsure why this is relevant, the Winchester Repeating Arms Company was a prominent American maker of repeating firearms, and her husband William was the son of Oliver Winchester, who owned the company. So they're very famous, still to this day.
Mm-hmm. They're huge. Yeah, the Winchester is like the main gun. Probably more so back in the day, right? But
I think they called one of them was the gun of the West or something.
Oh, that's what it is. It was like the gun to use,
So we'll do a bit of history of how the house came to be. Her husband William had passed away from tuberculosis in 1881. That just keeps it's like a running theme for us. The tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Yeah, in 1881, and her 6-week-old daughter passed away as well from marasmus, which is a children's disease that makes the body waste away, which is so sad.
Oh, that's really sad.
Yeah. So that was pretty much her family, her husband and her daughter. They both passed away. Sarah then inherited more than $20.5 million, which is now equivalent to $550 million in today's money.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Not to mention, she received nearly 50% of the company, which also gave her $1,000 a day, which is equivalent to $27,000 a day. So that just makes me want to vomit.
A mind-boggling amount of money. You could never spend that amount of money in your life.
It's just crazy. So they one person with that much
money. Yeah.
I don't even know. So sadly, after her husband and her daughter's death, she went to see a medium in Boston. This medium allegedly channeled her late husband and warned her that vengeful ghosts would try to seek her out. In order to protect herself, she must, quote, build a home for herself and for the spirits who have fallen from this terrible weapon. She was then advised to leave her home in New Haven and travel west. Then the medium stated that the construction must never stop of this house. Quote, if you continue building, you will live. Stop and you will die.
That is ominous.
Okay, no worries. So, of course, she packed her bags and she was on her way. She purchased an unfinished farmhouse in Santa Clara Valley. And in 1884, she began building the mansion, and this construction would continue for 38 years. Just constant construction.
Forever. Yeah.
Forever construction. She instantly hired a crew of carpenters, and they started to work on the home day and night until becoming 7 stories high. She never ended up hiring an architect, so this definitely added to the building's haphazard fashion. Sarah had so many strange requests for the workers. I'm sure it was a really weird job that they would just never forget ever. Her demands included the building of trapdoors, secret passages, a skylight in the floor, spiderweb windows, staircases that led to nowhere, doors that open to blank walls, and a dangerous door on the second floor that opens out to nothing. So you just drop to the ground outside.
It would make you giddy being in that house. It would make you feel just dizzy being around all those fake rooms and the windows. And
living there is just crazy to think about. So I'll go through some of the features of the home just so you get an idea of how large it is. So it's 24,000 square feet. It has 10,000 windows.
Oh my God.
2,000 doors, 160 rooms, which include 2 ballrooms and 40 bedrooms.
Are you serious? I didn't realize that it had so many rooms.
Yeah, me neither. I know. I was amazed running through all of this. It has 52 skylights, 47 stairways and fireplaces, 17 chimneys, 13 bathrooms, 6 kitchens, 2 basement levels, and 3 elevators.
Wow, that's unbelievable. That's like a hotel.
Yes. It's like a hotel.
A grand hotel.
Yeah. And the house was built with a price tag of $5 million in 1923. So that's $71 million today.
That's a fucking expensive house.
Ooh, very expensive.
It's like Sydney prices.
It's like a 3-bedroom house in Sydney.
Yeah.
So Sarah was also strangely obsessed with the number 13. A lot of things in her life related to this number, like the house having 13 panelled windows, 13 panelled ceilings. All the stairways had 13 steps. Her will even had 13 parts, and she signed it 13 times. But the weirdest one of all is the 13th bathroom, which contains 13 windows.
Oh, 13 and 13. Is this, do you know if it was like a superstitious thing?
I'm not sure. It might have been. Say. I couldn't find much about it. I think there's a lot of assumptions, but I would probably say so. She's built a house like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now there was a really big earthquake in 1906. So the 7 stories was prior to this. Now, unfortunately, it's only 4 stories, as a lot of the house actually became quite damaged and hasn't been rebuilt since. There's only 1 working toilet in the mansion as well. It's been said that... Yeah.
Imagine being on like the other side of the house and needing to go to the toilet.
Oh my God. It's so bad. It's said that all the other restrooms were decoys to confuse the spirits, and that this is only... And this is also the reason why she slept in a different room each night.
Wow.
Which
all those spirits that needed to go do a pee. That's like, ha!
Yeah, like,
you got
she
punked.
got me again.
Yeah.
Sarah Winchester.
Damn you.
So one of the windows in her home was designed by Tiffany himself, who was a well-known artist and son of founder Tiffany & Co. So he actually did heaps of windows, but this particular window was super special. The window was designed so when sunlight hits the prismatic crystals, a rainbow is cast across the room. Sounds amazing, right?
Lovely.
Sounds incredible. Well, this window was built in an interior room with no light exposure, which meant that the effect was never seen.
Imagine just having so much money that you can literally have the founder of Tiffany's create a window, a handcrafted window, and you don't even put it where the sunlight hits.
It's just insane. It just makes
you got
so
too much
sad.
money if you can do that.
Yeah, that's too much money, I know. Ugh. And a lot of people think that the house was built like a labyrinth, which was meant to confuse a ghost, which would allow Sarah to be at peace and have a chance to escape them. However, she was the sole architect of this home, and there has never been a building plan uncovered. So there's no blueprints or anything. She was the only one that would ever know the house's true secrets and meaning. There is only one known photo of Sarah as well. You might think that she would have been alone in the home, but she was far from it. She had 18 servants and gardeners and always growing and changing crew of builders as well. Every morning she would meet the foreman to discuss the plans for the house, and every night she would visit her seance room to speak with the spirits who weighed in on plans for the house's unusual designs. So there's also a funny theory with the strange design of the home meant that Sarah was creating a puzzle full of encryptions inspired by the work of English philosopher Francis Bacon. There's speculation that clues to the house's true meaning are hidden in the ballroom, the Shakespeare windows, and the iron gates. This theory suggests that Sarah was a member of a mystic society like the Rosicrucians or a secret society like the Freemasons, or possibly both as well.
Oh, no way. Okay.
I know.
Well, she has a lot of money, so I feel like this kind of would...
really high up there.
Yeah.
So when Sarah died, all of her possessions, apart from her house, were passed on to her niece and her personal secretary. Her niece then took everything she wanted and sold the rest in a private auction. It supposedly took 6 trucks working 8 hours a day for 6 weeks to remove all of the furniture from the house.
Oh, that's a lot of possessions. She's got a lot of shit.
Dare I say hoarder? I don't know. And Mrs. Winchester made no mention of the mansion in her will, and appraisers considered the house worthless due to damage caused by the earthquake, the unfinished design, and the impractical nature of the construction as well.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. But it was ended up being sold at an auction to a local investor for over $135,000 and subsequently leased for 10 years to John and Mame Brown, who eventually actually purchased the house. So in February 1923, 5 months after Winchester's death, the house was opened to the public, and Mame Brown serving as the first tour guide. So they were pretty much the first ones to do it. Yeah, and I would probably do the same thing. I wouldn't want to live in there. I'd be like, all right, this is for the public. This is freaky house.
For sure. Yeah.
For a while, the place was also a wax museum. So,
ooh, yuck. Yeah. That's creepy. That's creepier. That's like 10 times creepier.
It's very disturbing. And when they actually took out a lot of the dummies, they didn't want to remove all of them entirely. So there's actually a room where they kept some of them, and apparently you can see into this room by a certain vantage point in the house, which is fucked. Like,
no.
Yeah, it would just be so scary.
That's horrible. It sounds like just the worst horror movie plot. Like,
yeah, it fully does.
In a
like, there's a room full of people or something. Like, no, they're all the dummies, and it reminds me of Iron Legend.
Oh, you know? I love that movie.
That's so scary, that movie.
Yeah, sad as well.
It's good though. Oh my god. Oh, that's very sad. And okay, so this following story, so I actually found a tour guide on Reddit who didn't ask me anything. So this is from that. The creepiest moment I've had in the house was once when I was leading a tour. There was this one door that kept opening and closing. I knew that it wasn't the fan because it was pointed away from the door and it wasn't moving. I knew there wasn't anyone on the other side of the door because we didn't often send people into that part of the house to clean, and that's always on a Wednesday. This was a Tuesday. It couldn't have been just a breeze because the door led to another part of the house that was inside. There's no open windows in the rooms on either side of the door, so I still don't know what it was. Also, to add to the creepiness, the room that was on the other side of the door was the same room that Mrs. Winchester passed away in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Creepy.
So on this thread as well in Reddit, they also mention that the spookiest part of the whole mansion is the 3rd floor because, quote, that's where the servants lived. So there's been a lot of reported activity there. Also, when you're on that floor, you can never really hear any of the other tours, so you just feel completely isolated.
Isolated, yeah, okay.
Some people speculate Sarah was coping with her grief with a flurry of activity, or that she was simply crazy. So a lot of people are just calling her crazy. However, Winchester Mystery House historian Janan Boehm, I think Boehm, she paints a much happier picture of what she thinks happened. So imagining that the continual renovations reminded Sarah of the good times when she and William built their New Haven home together. Quote, I think Sarah was trying to repeat that experience by doing something they both loved, Boehm said to the Los Angeles Times. She also suspects that Sarah was just very eccentric and a philanthropist who used her family fortune to purposely employ the San Jose community. Being socially conscious, she just tried to give back to the community. She actually built a hospital which was under her husband's name, but this house in itself was her biggest social work of all, as she says.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I like that take.
Yeah, me too. Because, yeah, she would have – so many people were working in this house. Like,
right.
So it would have employed an insane amount, yeah. And also being quite new in the West as well. Like, it wasn't like end of the 1800s, beginning 1900s. Like, still not that many people were out west, I think, as well. Everyone was still kind of moving to that side. Yeah,
so jobs were needed in this area by the community, and that's a good opportunity for her to provide that.
Putting your money into something that's going to benefit everyone. So now for a couple of cool facts that I found. Winchester House was the Walt Disney's inspiration for the Haunted Mansion at the Disney parks, which is really cool.
I've been
Have you?
I've been in that Haunted Mansion.
Oh, no way. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
It's unreal. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, yeah, it makes sense that he would base up the Winchester House.
Yep.
Also, in 2007, the paranormal show Most Haunted, which I literally was obsessed with, like when I was younger.
Oh, so good.
God, they're so good. So they actually did a 7-hour-long live investigation at the Winchester House, which made it television history, which I did not know about.
I would love to watch that.
I really want to watch that. Oh my God, they're amazing. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so today the home is owned by Winchester Investments, a privately held company representing the descendants of John and Maine Brown. The home retains unique touches that reflects Mrs. Winchester's beliefs, and it provides day and night tours throughout the home all the time.
Imagine going on a night tour.
Yeah, so they do like full Halloween tours, Friday the 13th tours. They do, it's pretty much open all the time. They do weddings, like team building exercises. Like I was looking at the website, I'm like, fuck, I want to go. Like it looks so fun.
So everyone
it's just constantly
join our Patreon so we can go to America and go to the house.
Oh, could you imagine? It would be so fun. Like I would absolutely love to go to this house. And so it's known as like the most fascinating house in the world because it is incredible. And the photos I'll add, like definitely check out the photos because you don't really understand how large the house is until you look at it. And then even just looking at the outside is fascinating. You don't even need to look on the inside because it's built in such a crazy way and it's in such nice condition as well still. Like it's beautiful. But yeah, I thought I'd cover the Winchester Mansion. So that's my story for the day. And everyone... Yeah.
I'm so happy that you did this because I actually started, not this week, but it was when we first started our podcast, I actually began to type out my story for this, but I didn't feel like I was doing it justice. And the house, there is so much involved with the house, with the way that it looks and like
the details of the house is insane, like about all the types of wood that she used and why and like all the furnishings and skirting boards. I was like, oh fuck, there's no way
it's a very complex, detailed like story. So I didn't feel like I could do it justice, so I just dropped it. But I'm so glad that you did it because you did it really,
I was like,
really
I'm just
good.
Gonna do it.
It's one of my favorite. I've never been there, but I would love to go. I've been obsessed with this house for years and years. And
amazing.
Yeah, one of my favorite horror, scary movies, Rose Red, was based off this house.
So I haven't even watched that.
You should watch it. It's quite different. They like take a lot of like liberties when they film this movie. It's like a full on like horror movie. But
sweet.
What an interesting place. Do you think that the like psychic medium that Sarah saw kind of in the beginning, do you think that psychic was telling her the truth, or do you think that she was trying to scam her?
See, this is, I don't know, because it is interesting. Some people were like, she just really was against guns as well, and she was just like really hated the family and was just like, you should feel bad for what you've done, and kind of thought, this is how I can get back at them. So I've seen that side as well, but I think maybe she was just taking advantage of her as well, because being maybe such a gullible person, or maybe she just really knew that she believed in the spirit world a lot, that she knew that she could convince her into doing something crazy. But either way, it seems like she was happy, I guess, maybe doing what she did. And, you know, as I mentioned, the last bit of the story, a lot of people got work.
Yes.
So I don't know.
For sure. And I mean, like what you said about Sarah, the theory that she was building because it reminded her, it kind of brought her back to her and her husband, you know, building in the past or
so
whatever.
She just built until she died.
Until she died. I have read, and I'm pretty sure this is true, I read that when her husband and her daughter died, she was like, as you would be devastated, but she was like fully just like so devastated, and she kind of like stayed in that grief for forever, pretty much like until she died. So if she was building to kind of reminisce on that part of her life, that would make sense. That would totally make sense to just kind of keep on doing that. And if she was so deep in grief, like,
you're going to do whatever you can to get out of it. You know?
Building such an eccentric, almost cheeky house would bring you a bit of joy, I think.
Yeah. I mean, look, if I had money, I'd build the house for sure, but not one that I have to sleep in a different room every night, and one toilet. For some things, I'm like, why did she do that?
It is a lot of rooms. Like, it's a lot of rooms. And that, because I've seen photos of the seance room, and I heard that it's, like, pretty creepy. It does, I don't know.
It sounds tiny, the seance room. It's very small.
It's quite small, yeah. I feel like it would be a very, like, scary room to be in as well. It just doesn't sound very nice as well. Just kind of thinking about her, because the whole thing behind Sarah's story is that she was kind of being tormented by the ghosts of the victims of the guns, and, you know, you think of her seance room and all the spirits that must be there, and just
and I was scared to think of the story in that sense, where she actually felt like she was running away from the ghosts, and it's to trap the spirits. Like, that is terrifying to think about as well.
I know,
like,
trying to
having
trick
that
them.
fear. Trick them with having the only toilet, you know.
And imagine being in that house alone. Like, I know she had a lot of servants and stuff, but I'm sure a lot of the time she would be by herself, in you know.
For sure. It seems way too big to have people around the time. Anyway.
Well,
I'm excited to hear your one now.
Mine is different. It's a little bit different to everything. It's quite like information and detail heavy.
Good.
So I'm very sorry if I kind of like overwhelm everyone with words and dates and everything like that, but it's
some people love that stuff, and
it's good to just kind of like lose yourself in details.
I mean,
sometimes
you've got my attention. I'm excited.
So on March 18th, 1877, in a small town near Hopkinsville, Kentucky, again, we've been there before. Nice. So this is a place that I think we've visited 2 times.
I think we've been there a couple times.
A couple of times. It must be a pretty weird place if this is...
I think we'll have to add that on the list to the Patreon.
We'll go
there too.
on our tour of the world.
Yeah.
There was a boy who was born that was named Edgar Cayce.
Okay.
He was one of 6 kids to their parents Leslie and Carrie Cayce. In Edgar's childhood, he was an interesting boy. He wasn't very good in school due to being quite distracted during his classes. By the age of 10, he found himself to be just absolutely obsessed and dedicated to his church and his Bible, reading it at least once a year for the rest of his life.
Oh,
One
what?
day, yeah, so he was like super Jesus loving, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
One day, he was actually reading his beloved Bible in the woods by his home, and he claims he was visited by a woman with wings who told him all his prayers would be answered and asked him what he wanted most of all. He said that most of all, he wanted to help all the people in the world, especially sick children.
Oh.
This wasn't the only spiritual visitation that Edgar would have as a child. Early in his life, he claimed to be able to see spirits and entities that visited him, including his deceased grandfather. He also claimed to have been able to memorize the contents of books just by sleeping on them. So he would do this repeatedly. He would like do this all throughout his school life where he would struggle with something, and he claims that he could just like sleep on a book, learn the contents of it while asleep, and then turn up the class and know what's what, you know.
Okay,
So,
wow.
Pretty wild. By the age of 15, he ended up just actually canning school altogether due to his family's he just dropped it. But it was due to his family's inability to financially support his education any longer. Yeah, so they were just kind of like humble farm folk, and they weren't too well off. He decided that this was the time to go seek out his own independence and find his first job. He spent the better part of his early adulthood trying to find solid employment that would at least support his basic needs, but he really just found himself bouncing between jobs with no reliable income. In amongst his travelling around towns, he met and became engaged to a woman named Gertrude Adams.
Okay.
After he met Gertrude and they had become engaged, Edgar still was absolutely not having any luck finding work that would support him and his new fiancée. So the pair decided to head back to Hopkinsville to find support there amongst his family in these hard times.
Yeah.
Not long, so times are tough. Not long after his arrival back home, Edgar and his father decided to try their hand at starting up their own insurance business. This was also not successful. So, yeah, not having a very good time.
Oh, my God.
The reason that Edgar and his father's insurance business was unsuccessful was because only a few months into their attempts at starting the company, Edgar was struck down with a severe case of laryngitis that resulted in total and complete loss of speech. So he just totally lost his voice. And he just wouldn't speak. He couldn't speak at all. Unable to work in the insurance business any longer, nor able to support himself and Gertrude, they both ended up just living actually with Edgar's family on the farm for almost a whole year, which made them both really fucking miserable. They hated it.
Yep.
So, which I love my family, but you want your own space.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Mum, I love you, but I ain't going to live with you.
Yes. Yeah.
Those times are over.
So now, even more desperate to find a way to survive and get out of the family home, Edgar found himself taking up the trade of photography. something that is both mostly in the sense of vision, and also a career that can be done quite easily if you don't have the ability of speech.
Yeah.
It was perfect for him at that time. And it turns out Edgar was amazing at photography. It really was his hidden talent, and he just absolutely loved it. So now it's 1901, and still a whole year later, Edgar was struggling with his loss of voice. Though a glimmer of hope appeared when a travelling hypnotist who referred to himself as the Laugh Man was passing through town, which sounds horrifying. He's not that scary, but the name is quite terrifying.
No. Yeah, that's so scary.
Yeah, that's a no.
I hate that.
Me too. When Edgar met him, the Laugh Man promised that he had a cure for Edgar's loss of speech through a peculiar type of experiment he wanted to perform on him. Edgar agreed, and after the experiment was completed, he still had no voice. Edgar was then referred to another hypnotist named Al Lane, and Lane actually was able to restore Edgar's voice through hypnotism. But something interesting happened while Edgar was under Lane's hypnotism during their session. While he was in his trance, and seemingly after he had gained his voice back, Edgar described in perfect detail the ailment that he himself was suffering from in his throat and how to treat it. And this is how Edgar regained his voice for good, by providing Lane the correct course of treatment for his laryngitis while under the trance. And Edgar had absolutely no recollection of diagnosing himself during this time and was very skeptical, mostly due to the fact that he had zero medical experience.
Yeah, right.
So it's getting interesting.
It's so weird.
It's a weird story, yeah. So Lane was blown away by what had happened. He experimented further with Edgar on different occasions, every time putting him back into a trance under hypnotism. And to begin, he got Edgar to diagnose Lane's own ailments with cures to those ailments, as he figured that this was the best way to rule out any fraud, as Lane knew better than anyone what his own medical issues were, and Edgar was totally unaware of what those issues were. Edgar precisely named Lane's conditions and described perfectly accurate cures to them, despite never having any medical training or experience. Edgar himself was still extremely skeptical of his own abilities, as he had zero knowledge of what he was saying under hypnosis, and he was sure he had zero know-how of medical information. So even Edgar is like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I wouldn't believe that either. I'd be like, no, fuck off.
No,
like,
you're trying to trick me or something. Yeah. Edgar's methods always seemed to be the same. He would enter a trance-like state in which it seemed like another being would speak with his voice and would assist with the medical diagnosis. After many more experiments and trials of Edgar under hypnosis, Lane decided to ask Edgar into business partnership in which they would diagnose members of the public. And despite Edgar's reluctance on his own diagnostic abilities, he agreed under the conditions that 1, he did it for free, and 2, he knew absolutely nothing of the patient before the reading. So he's refusing to take money for these readings. So not getting rich off this.
Yeah, right.
After a while, Edgar became very proficient in his readings, being able to put himself into a self-hypnosis without the help of Lane. And he even reached a point where he claimed he didn't even need the patient there in person, that even just a handwritten letter with the patient's name and location would suffice.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so his
What the
powers are
fuck?
growing.
Yeah, that is absolutely insane.
After some media attention through newspapers and word of mouth, Edgar Cayce began to diagnose hundreds of people from all around the globe who were contacting him for help. And all the while, Edgar still refused to take a fee for these sessions. He could have been making a killing from this, and he didn't take a cent.
Wow.
The type of diagnosis that Edgar would give were extremely accurate. And what was even more accurate was the treatment that he would provide these patients while still under hypnosis.
Okay.
Edgar and Lane eventually parted ways, and after this, Edgar remained within the business of photography, eventually setting up his own studio. Though it seemed that Edgar couldn't escape his reputation of being an amazing clairvoyant healer. A committee of established doctors was formed to seek out and investigate Edgar's capabilities, as he was now quite well known and sought after. So
Yeah, taking their jobs.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of like an investigation into like what was going on. They performed their own experiments on him to confirm what was said to be true. They performed numerous tests to measure his clairvoyant abilities, which all ended up confirming with the doctors the accuracy of his readings and his reputation with great success. One of these less psychic tests was to spike Edgar through a nerve ending while he was under hypnosis to gauge his pain reaction, which I can't imagine anything worse than being spiked in a nerve. While the test was being conducted, he did not flinch, not even once. The only time he seemed to have been affected by this was after he exited his trance and complained of the intense pain. So it was only after he'd left
he
his
would have been
trance.
so confused, like, what the fuck?
What the
Why am
fuck
I
is
so
going
sore?
on? Yeah, totally. After numerous experiments and the doctors being just flabbergasted by the results, they offered Edgar huge sums of money to work with them to diagnose patients.
Yeah,
But
I can imagine.
they would have been dying to have him in their team. But still anxious about potentially hurting innocent people, and also just due to his desire to genuinely help those in need, he turned down their substantial offers. So he was quite anxious
He's such a good
about
guy.
he sounds, apparently he was just like this fucking really top bloke that wanted to help people, and like he just was really anxious about his abilities because this was all happening while he was under hypnosis, and he never heard himself saying these things, so he didn't even know what was
justify
happening.
taking the money. He's like, I don't know what I'm
Exactly.
doing. I don't know why
Exactly.
I should be paid for this.
Totally. He knew it was helping people, but he didn't know what was happening. So after these experiments and large monetary offers, Edgar continued with his photography for a few more years until a fire in 1906 and another in 1907 totally destroyed his business and created a huge debt for him and his family.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Because of his desperate need for financial stability, Edgar reached out to one of the doctors who conducted the experiments on him, whose name was Wesley Ketchum. And he reached out to ask him into a business partnership to diagnose sick patients, and Ketchum agreed. Though Edgar
Isn't that what
would
Ash
still...
Ketchum? Sorry, I just from Pokemon, Ash Ketchum.
This is Ash Ketchum's dad, Wesley Ketchum.
I just had to say that.
Yeah, it's not a very common last
Gotta
name.
catch them all. Yeah.
Gotta catch them all. So even though he was going to be diagnosing patients, he still refused to take a fee, refused to take money, and he only asked for like donations if people wanted to, but they didn't even have to if they didn't want to.
Yeah. Oh Oh my God. After losing his business.
Yeah, he's a super humble dude, it seems. So now it's 1911 and more bad luck comes Edgar's way.
Oh.
The Cayce's second son dies only 2 months after birth, which is very sad. And his wife, Gertrude, falls deathly ill with advanced and chronic tuberculosis.
What the fuck?
Boom, boom, boom.
Child death and tuberculosis in both of our stories.
I know.
I mean, look, it's around that
tragic.
time, you know, the early 1900s, yeah.
Same era, yeah.
Yeah.
The doctors had essentially given up on Gertrude, stating that there was nothing more that they could do for her now. Edgar decided that if his healing abilities were true, now was the time to use them. He went into a self-hypnosis and seemingly cured Gertrude of her tuberculosis through the treatment he recommended during his self-induced trance.
What?
After she started the recommended treatment by her husband, she regained health rapidly, and after this, she was fully cured. So
Oh my God.
the treatment worked.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yes. Oh my God. It's wild as fuck. So it's many years later. It's now 1923 to be exact. So we're a few more years down the line now.
Okay.
And Edgar's popularity has just grown exponentially.
Yeah.
He's beginning to request more voluntary donations for his work, but still not requiring any kind of fee at all. In this time, he also invented a card game called Pit, which is still a popular card game to this day. And this invention was created by Edgar to fund his goal to be able to do his readings full time and discontinue photography, because he didn't want to charge a fee for his readings, but he needed money.
He made something else to charge for. Oh my God.
Exactly, for people to buy if they wanted. Yeah. Yeah, and it's clear that the reason for wanting to do his readings full time wasn't the money, because he was still refusing the fee. And even inventing card games to fund this path for himself.
Yeah, wow.
So in this year, 1923, there would be two very important people come into Edgar's life. The first would be a woman named Gladys Davis.
Okay. Yeah.
Who
Sound like a family member just then.
I was like, I'm looking at you and being like, David?
Like, yeah, do you know it, Gladys?
So yes, Gladys, she was very important to Edgar. She would eventually become his secretary. But Gladys would actually be more than just a secretary, despite that being her official role. She would be the person that would encourage and support Edgar to continue to help people with his readings. And she would be the person to start recording every single one of Edgar's psychic diagnoses of patients, as well as his future predictions. So she really came into his life, and she was like encouraging, supportive. She gave all her time and like support to him to help him continue, totally just like at the detriment of her kind of life, you know. So she precisely documented all of these readings and composed them so perfectly that it is the reason that today we still have such an exact record of Edgar's hypnosis sessions and psychic readings. Gladys Davis in total would record over 14,000 readings from Edgar during their time together. She really became...
Oh, so imagine how many he's done before. Like, that's...
Yes, 14,000 is since she started recording, and he did like a huge amount before she came into his life.
Wow.
So, the second person to come into Edgar's life that was very important was a man named Arthur Lammas. And Lammas and Edgar met when Lammas came to Edgar for a reading one day. When Edgar was in his trance state, Lammas began to ask philosophical questions about the world and life and death. Lammas was a student of metaphysics and would question Edgar while in trance about reincarnation and astrology. And Edgar, who was actually a fiercely devout Christian, validated Lammas's philosophical ponderings while unaware and under hypnosis. So that's kind of like another sign that he's not just like talking shit. Like for him to be kind of like fiercely devout, but then speaking things that go against his religion.
Yeah.
When Edgar woke, he refused to believe that he endorsed these teachings that challenged his Christian faith. But Gladys, who was there to record the session, showed Edgar her notes and confirmed that this is what he spoke about while under trance. So even Gladys was like, this is what you said. After this life-changing event, life-changing for Edgar anyway, the two men further worked together to continue developing upon these metaphysical theories. And although Edgar was so conflicted on these theories in conjunction with his Christian belief, he found a way to marry the two into one esoteric truth that he believed all religions shared in one way or another.
Okay.
The theory that they followed covered reincarnation, past lives, and other beliefs such as these, which at the time were very much seen as occultist practices and very much looked down upon. It was a very kind of religious time, you know. After working further with Lammas, the two came up with the idea of opening a hospital where Edgar could continue performing his readings of patients, along with practicing the teachings of this esoteric belief that they followed. Unfortunately, Lammas ran into huge financial trouble and was unable to follow through with his end of the deal in the creation of the hospital. But Edgar went through with it anyway. So Lammas was like, hey, I've got this great idea. Let's do this thing. And then Edgar's like, okay. And then Lammas is like, nah, sorry, I can't.
Actually, no. Yep. Oh, God.
So Edgar went through with it anyway because he was really into the idea. And so Edgar's hospital began construction in Virginia. And this is because after Edgar had received a message through one of his readings that stated this was the place that the hospital needed to be built in Virginia.
Right.
No idea why. I couldn't find any information explaining further on that. Edgar's,
really?
Yeah, just that's what it was, I guess. That's how it is. Edgar's hospital became a full working and functioning hospital where he had nurses, volunteers, and even medical doctors working for him. The hospital allowed for continued follow-ups with patients who had been treated so that Edgar and his team could record and research the accuracy of the psychic readings and remedies that had been provided under hypnosis.
Yeah.
They were using this to help future patients as well as to compile a knowledge base that they could freely share with the world to help the future well-being of humanity. So they wanted to compile this knowledge to freely share with everyone. The hospital was so popular that there was a waiting list months in advance.
Oh, I can imagine.
He was so popular by this point. However, during all of this success, the Great Depression hit hard and funding for the hospital ended. Despite this, Edgar still had a massive following of people who revered his psychic readings as well as his beliefs in karma, reincarnation, and astrology. But that wasn't the end of Edgar's work. In 1931, there was a group of 61 people who gathered for a meeting to discuss Edgar and what he was capable of doing. They all agreed that his readings couldn't go to waste during this time, and his work was so impactful in not just his community, but the rest of the country also.
Right.
From this, the Association for Research and Enlightenment was created, and Edgar was the elected leading man. And so he was able to continue with his readings and also conduct study groups through this association that was created.
Yeah.
The association would actually eventually grow to around 600 members, and beginning with that 61 members. And it was a time that really became a crux in Edgar's career. World War II had begun, and people were flooding to him to learn of the well-being of their loved ones who had gone off to fight the enemy abroad. This increased Edgar's readings hugely, as he never refused a single patient or person who wanted a reading.
Wow.
Not a single one.
my God.
He would never turn...
I swear he'd be more hypnotized, like more out of it than awake.
Oh, yeah.
By the sounds of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of was his demise a little bit. This amount of work took such a huge toll on Edgar that even his own clairvoyant readings warned him that he was pushing himself too far.
Oh, no.
And sure enough, that prediction was true. And Edgar Cayce died not long after this, which has always been put down to exhaustion from his work taking a toll on his health.
Oh,
he was 67 years old, and his wife Gertrude, 67. So not even, he wasn't that
so
old,
young.
you know, even for those times, like, you know, and his wife Gertrude died 3 months later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's sad, but also, like, you know, they were together after she died.
Yeah.
The Association for Research and Enlightenment is still running strong today. And still going real strong. And Edgar is still regarded as the most well-known and true psychic that's ever lived. He never once used his abilities to gain any kind of wealth, actually spending a lot of his life being dirt poor. And he always claimed that he only wanted to use these abilities for the good of humanity. And I think his actions really proved that.
Yeah.
He frequently turned down lucrative partnerships that would make him beyond wealthy, because it seems like that's just not what he wanted from his readings.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just medical readings that would solidify Edgar's name as the world's greatest medium and be dubbed the sleeping prophet. He accurately predicted World War II, in particular describing the unprecedented alliance between the Germans, Austrians, and Japanese. So he predicted that.
What?
He predicted the stock market crash. He predicted the use of blood in medical diagnostics. He also predicted the discovery of the La Nina and El Nino weather effects, and also the convergence of communication companies in cooperative and structured manner as well, which is a little bit more complex. But yeah, it's another thing that he predicted. He also spoke at length about the Dead Sea Scrolls. And yes, and the people who created them, I don't know how to say this, the Ascends, I think is how you say these people. Yet the Dead Sea Scrolls weren't discovered until 2 years after Edgar's death. And it would take many more years before details about the lives of the Ascends would begin to emerge also. So Edgar Cayce truly did seem like he fulfilled the message that he gave to the woman with wings in the beginning of the story, saying that he just really did truly want to help people in the best way possible.
Yeah. That's fucking fascinating. I've never heard of this man before, ever. And that's crazy. Like, why is this not more well known? Like,
Yeah.
I think the story is, like, knowing all of that. I mean, I don't know how that can't be true. Like,
Well,
you know, it just seems too crazy.
There's a lot of, like, this is the thing. It's a very, so while I was researching this story, because I've known about Edgar Cayce for a very long time, but not certain details. But when I was researching this story, a lot of the videos I watched are kind of like skeptical debunking type videos. But even with those videos, they're like, this is the information and we have a hard time knowing like what was happening. Like, it seems pretty true. Didn't take any money, so he wasn't scamming anyone. Like, a lot of you know like clairvoyant healers and blah blah blah, they kind of do it for the money.
So many people have been involved in this story. So many businesses have started and failed, and lots of people involved in this. It seems like there's like paperwork and stuff to prove, and the notes that Gladys written down, everything, like
totally,
it's there. The evidence is there,
and like
no money was made.
No, there was like nothing made, and he could have made money. Like, this is the thing. He like, it wasn't that no money was made because he couldn't. He could have made a fucking killing. Like, but he decided not to. And also, like, all of his, incredible. It's a really cool story. All of his readings are also in some kind of like national archive that you need to have a certain permission to
gotta be friends with the Pope or the Queen or something to have a look at them.
But it's actually like an official government like archive.
Interesting. Yes. Yeah, I bet there would be.
Not free access though, so that's a little bit interesting.
Yeah, that's sus as fuck. That's like, I think we might have to do one of those national treasure break-ins and do a
do a heist.
Yeah, we should. Add that on the list as well. Wherever those are, we're going to break in.
Support us on Patreon.
We'll get some GoPros and do a little stinky Mission Impossible and get those.
Sounds fantastic.
Oh, that would be so fascinating to read because, if they're hidden away somewhere, I bet there's some real sneaky shit on there.
Yeah.
They're wanting to hide.
Well, this is the thing, is that like, he made a lot of predictions that I didn't mention because they haven't come true. And so I was kind of like, oh, whatever, I'm not going to mention them. Predictions about like Atlantis and other.
Yes, okay.
And stuff like that. And like the Akashic records, I think it's called. It's some kind of like old ancient records that are supposedly hidden under like the Sphinx and stuff like that. So
mad. Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that a bit more. That's really cool. Holy shit, that's mad. Oh my god, what a good story. That was great. Oh, that was great.
Again, two fantastic stories this week. I think we smashed it out of the park.
Oh, yeah, chef's kiss. Yeah. That was bloody beautiful.
Tens across the board.
Yeah. That was mad. Okay, I'm really happy with that. I hope you guys liked that too. I thought that was really fun.
It was fun. If you are enjoying what we do, please let us know. Leave us a review. If you don't want to do that, at least just connect with us on social media. Spooky Mountain Podcast.
We've got people... Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
TikTok.
Just let us know anytime. TikTok. TikTok. YouTube as well. Just leave a comment, or whatever. Just let us know you're liking what we do and if you want to support us, check our Patreon.
Yeah, we want to hear from you.
We really do. But I guess we'll speak to you next week. So thanks for listening.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
This episode of Spooky Mountain was created and recorded on land of the original custodians, the Gundungurra and Bidjigal people. We pay respects to the past, present, and emerging mob. My name is Geordie, and I'm a proud Gunya woman. Thank you for listening.